How's it going, guys? Jake Adams here, and finally found some time to come home and spend some time with my local reef community. And first up is I got an invitation from my homeboy Will to come check out this awesome reef tank that he's been taking care of for 12 years. So we're gonna check it out, ask some questions, and check out a lot of beautiful, juicy, showy corals. What's up, Will?
Not much.
How's it going, man? Thanks for having me over.
For sure.
All right, so tell me about this tank. First of all, I know you do aquarium maintenance for a living, so what do you call this tank?
This is kind of our electric Sunburst tank.
Electric Sunburst, that's the internal name?
Yeah.
Very cool. I'm just gonna do a quick overview so people can see just how glorious this tank is. I haven't even asked you like any of the fundamental questions about this tank. Okay, so first of all, how big is this aquarium?
300 gallons.
300 gallons. Was it 8 feet long?
Yep, 8 feet, 24 inches, and I think about 30 tall.
It's a glass tank?
Yep.
And it's visible on both sides, correct?
Yep.
Are there overflows on both ends?
Yep.
God, those are some really fat overflows. Who built those?
It's an old oceanic tank. The tank's probably 15, maybe 20 years old.
Oh, wow.
We actually didn't install this. We took it over from a previous company.
So you took this over 12 years ago?
Yep.
Very nice. Very cool. Well, so tell me just some anecdotes about this tank right now, and then let's jump in the past, because I know this thing's had a history. So what are some of the really cool animals in here?
You know, it's got a 6-7-year-old black tang in it. You know, those are expensive, kind of rare.
Why'd you have to mention that one? I can't get a shot of him. He's real scared.
Yeah, he's kind of a shy guy.
What about this olive shoulder? You told me he's been in here forever?
Yeah, he's probably a 10-year-old fish, and we bought him as a juvenile, fully expecting a orange shoulder to turn gray in adulthood, and it never did. It just...
How old is he again?
10 years old.
10 years, and he's kept that juvie color. That's awesome, man. This fish would be so much more popular if all of them held that color like that. What about this Heniocus that you showed me in here?
So put him in as a little quarter-sized tiny Heniocus to eat Aptasias. We had those going years and years ago.
Let's swing around the other side.
Promptly ate all the Euphilia and all of our LPS out of the tank, and it magically sort of transferred it into this SPS tank.
So this one fish added to solve a problem, ended up shaping the look and feel of this entire reef tank, correct?
Correct.
That's so cool. So now this has turned into a pretty classic SPS reef tank, right?
Yeah, it's it grows fast. We try to frag it a lot, but we only coming here once a week. Spend about an hour a week on it, and it just hard to keep up on keeping the colonies small. And once they get big, they just kind of grow exponentially, and it looks pretty cool when they're that big, admittedly.
All right, so we're gonna take a quick look and focus in on a few of these colonies. All right, man, I just never get over this peachy orange digitata. I know there's a lot of people who struggle to keep it that bright. That thing is just falling.
It started out as one branch about 2 inches long, and that was maybe a year ago.
And then down here, on a perfect placement, just a little bit lower down, we got a Jedi Mind Trick Monty.
That was actually a Bali mariculture that came in. It wasn't out of one of our other
tanks.
tanks.
Oh, so the Jedi Mind Trick is more Australian, but it's still like the same Monopora undata.
Yeah, and it was about the size of maybe a $50.
And we got a Cali tort in here, looking really dense. So dense, I thought it was an Oregon tort for a little bit.
They look different in every one of our tanks.
It's such a variable coral for sure.
Yeah, no teal in this tank.
And we got a nice classic green hydno, a tricolor subulata, a Milka stylo. This coral I found out several years ago is actually collected from the Red Sea about 30 years ago. And that's the only coral we have in our aquariums that actually came from the Red Sea.
Huh.
Hell, it might be one of the very few corals we have from the Indian Ocean, the entire Indian Ocean.
Wow.
And then, man, this used to go by a Steve Elias stag. What do you guys call it? Just a blue tip green?
The teal giant stag. We've got it in almost every one of our tanks. We do SPS in. You can't beat the blue color. It grows fast.
Very cool. And then a little green stag on the edge.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. So when this is a little bit of a wall because you have both sides to the aquarium. When you started this tank, how was the aquascape different?
Well, when we took it over, it was all the rocks are basically just flat on the sand, and it was just a line of rocks. And we kind of worked with what we had, and that was 10, 12 years ago. So we've learned a lot about aquascaping since.
Yeah, I like those swim-throughs, man. I definitely see you have potential to explore that a little bit more, like take out that big rock and just drop these colonies down a little bit more.
Yeah, it's an undertaking when you want to do what we call, at least with our crew, is a mini tank redo.
Yeah.
And when the corals get up this high, you just got to
easy.
take out base rock. So, you know, it's a half to a full day project.
Very cool. I'm gonna back up a little bit just so that people see how this is framed. It's just like this beautiful wall. The woodwork on this thing is just gorgeous, and the floor to ceiling cabinetry, and the ceiling just keeps going. It's kind of crazy. But all right, so now we've switched over to the side of the aquarium where all the equipment is accessible. So Will, why don't you crack it open and show us what you're working with?
Basically just a Berlin style filter. This had a refugium on it probably 8 years ago, and as we started using GFO and trying to do more low nutrient techniques, we just found it more difficult to keep plants alive.
So this is a kind of a generic protein skimmer that was same as Saltwater Extreme, but it's a rebadged ASM, and it's got a Cedra inside.
Yep, Cedra 5000.
More or less the same as like a old school ASM G4?
G3, yeah.
With one Cedra 5000. Still rocking. You clean out the skimmer once a week.
Yeah, tomorrow's maintenance day, so it actually...
it's not very much skimmate.
It's not very much skimmate, but the nutrients stay, I mean, pretty much zero in these tanks, zero nitrates. We hand test phosphates.
Yeah, and it's not the prettiest thing, but it's definitely very effective to use all those jumbo RO canisters for your media filters.
Yeah, just economical, and you get them from BRS.
And you've got just a mechanical float switch,
and it runs on a liquid level controller, so the float switch is a backup shut off.
And here we've got the 3-channel dosing pump, and you're dosing calcium, alkalinity, magnesium.
Yep.
Right on. Very cool. Where's your is that your return pump?
It is actually in the cabinet to the right.
Oh, is this pump feeding a chiller?
No, that's...
What is that pump for?
That's... Which pump?
That pump right there.
Oh, that's the biopellet reactor pump.
Oh, okay, all right, cool. Let's keep that open, and we'll take a look on this side, get a few accessories. All right, okay, yeah, we got a blue line. Is that a 50? No, that's bigger than 55, right?
Yeah, it's the one that does 1750 an hour.
I think that's blue line 70 HD probably.
Yeah, it's a Pan World 150 PS, I think.
Okay, and then we got your dosing containers and a huge biopellet reactor with the smallest handful of biopellets.
Yeah, we've experimented over the years. If I get even like 5 inches of biopellets in there, it actually starts to bleach out the acros. So we figured
it's
out
too effective.
Yeah, we figured out if we do like less than 2 inches, the nitrates stay at 0, and everything seems happy.
You know, I haven't had the greatest of luck with biopellet reactors myself, or biopellets in general, but I think it's just time to revisit that topic. And anything to see on that last section?
Well, the tank, for the most part, has always been ran on a calcium reactor, but we found over the years that trying to dial in calcium and alkalinity with solely using a calcium reactor can be a little more challenging.
Well, calcium reactors, it's the wrong name, right? Because they're really alkalinity reactors.
Right.
They pump out a ton of alkalinity and a little bit of calcium.
So easier.
And in this day of like convergent devices, I still love seeing like a single purpose, one function, pinpoint pH probe controller to run the calcium reactor. But yeah, you definitely get a lot more stability when you use a calcium reactor along with the multi-channel doser.
Absolutely. In this reactor, it'll go through 3 inches of media a month. So we are constantly filling this thing.
Very cool. I mean, you can see that from the growth. And what else do you dose to this tank?
We use Brightwell Aquatics Coral VM. We use Brightwell's Restore, and then Lugal solution, and then lots and lots of acro power.
And so you have 4 returns here going through some small flow accelerators.
Yep.
Is that the primary flow? You got a couple
yeah, we've got
Toonsy pumps here on the side.
4 Toonsies on there along with those flow accelerators, and it's really a whirlwind in there. With that pan roll pump, it's pressure rated.
And those return pumps are just solid on, right?
Yeah.
4 outlets.
Yep.
That really works for this Peninsula design. Finally, what are you lighting up this baby with?
These are actually originally Radeon Gen 1s, and we sent them into Ecotech, and they put the Gen 3 upgraded pucks in them.
Yeah, so you went from the old LEDs with the reflectors to 2 generations later, a lot more LEDs with the TIR lens.
Yep.
Yeah. And I do love how you've got them angled. That is just so important and so appropriate for use with LED lights. Very, very nice.
Yeah, we were getting lots of shadowing in it when we had them perfectly level. And as the corals got bigger, it just became more important to kind of direct it.
Very cool. And you said that there's huge windows on the other side of this wall, and a ton of sun comes through.
Yeah, the anemones have never moved in this tank since the day we put them in. They always stay on that middle rock, and I think part of their coloration is because they get direct sunlight for about 4 hours a day during the summer.
Oh wow, very cool. After keeping this, a tank like this and others like it for 12 years, what are some things you want to tell the viewers about what it takes to keep a tank successful over a super long term?
I think the key is just stability with calcium and alkalinity. I read so many things online where guys are keeping stuff at 10, 11, 12, and for us, most of these tanks are pretty low nutrient running GFO, and we get these tanks where we get the alkalinity up to 9, and you can start to see a decline in color. And the other thing is feeding the corals. It was such a battle for so long before the equipment became as sophisticated as now to keep algae at bay, and we were starving all the corals. So now we've started to really concentrate more on those nutrients that we mentioned and feeding the tanks, and it's made a world of difference in coloration and growth.
So you're saying through advanced reefing techniques, you've had more wiggle room to actually feed the corals?
Absolutely. We're not seeing nearly as much cyano, bryopsis, hair algae as we used to.
Very cool. So obviously you're a professional at this and you do it a lot. What are some advice that you might have for people who want to take some of the ideas here and apply it to their home reef tank?
If you're really going to focus on, like we have in this tank with SPS, flow is so critical. I know a lot of people and even our clients want a little bit of everything, but it's hard to do some of those softer corals and do SPS like this when you've got to create so much flow. A lot of the softer corals, frog spawns, hammers, things like that just aren't going to handle
That's such an excellent point, and one thing I try to hammer home to so many people is like, the reef tanks that we keep are literally the hardest thing possible. We're all trying to keep every part of the reef in one glass box, and that's the hardest thing to do because the ocean doesn't work like that. All the corals are in specific environments, and when you fine tune it for a group of corals that works, that's just how it goes. That's the best way to do it.
And for all you guys out there that have nano reef tanks that are making them look this nice, much respect.
Much respect, totally.
I know how difficult those are and how inherently unstable they are, and we definitely have an advantage here with this volume of water.
Very cool. Well, man, it was great to see you. Great to see this tank. And I think this won't be the first tank we bring on the YouTube channel for a video, so thanks a lot, Will.
Thank you.
All right. I hope you've enjoyed this latest tank tour video, and if you did, be sure and hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. Premier Fish and Reef has been doing professional aquarium maintenance for over 10 years, and there's plenty more where this tank came from. I have a ton of friends all over the country and all over the world with killer tanks to show off, so if you like this kind of video, be sure and let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for tuning in to Reef Builder's video, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode.